Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to do something a little different. Obviously I'm coming to you from a new environment. It's a gorgeous day outside. Figured I'd come in and take it out. And this is going to be a really short video. Originally I just planned on doing a surprise unboxing on a new watch that I bought, a new Rolex. And you guys are so clever that you noticed immediately when it was sitting in the background of my Instagram. So I was going to have to make this a longer video than I planned to, because it's just going to be a little short note. But there were some other things that I really wanted to talk about, and I know a lot of us look to buy our watches online, and in regards to the Rolex I'm unboxing this video, it's a phenomenal piece and I'm very happy with it. But I've also had a couple of really negative experiences lately, and I thought you guys might be able to benefit from some of my issues that I've run into. So one thing I really want to talk about, and actually two things that happened this week well, this week and last week, related to two Breitlings that I bought and I've subsequently returned. And the reason for that is that they both had damage and issues with them that were not disclosed by the sellers. Now, the piece of advice that I always tell you guys on my videos is that you want to buy the seller. Apologize if you're hearing any wind noise right now, but that you want to buy the seller. And I bought from two sellers that were professional dealerships. They have their gray markets, of course, but they have, dealerships. They're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau here in the United States, and they have thousands and thousands of feedback on Yelp, on Google, and even some of them have eBay accounts now. And all that said, at the end of the day, I still found them taking advantage of situations. And it, by the way, wristwatch check. I'm not going to show you what's on that wrist right now, but this wrist is the Seiko SARB 35. The other one is the Rolex. You're going to see the unboxing of in a bit. But the two situations that came up were damage that was not disclosed in the listings, and they hid from the listings. And I can tell you in all honesty, of every used watch I've ever bought online through a good dealer, there's always been stuff that wasn't quite what they mentioned in the listing. There's always hidden damages, and I think you have to take that somewhat into account when you bid on things or you pay for these things online, that you are getting a watch that's not going to be in mint condition. And with pieces that are used, you're always going to find stuff that's wrong. Now, usually it's minor stuff and it's more than makes up for the price savings you're getting, but it's just something to keep in mind. And in these two situations, the two big issues that I ran into were on one Breitling that I bought, there was a scratch in the crystal, and they hid it. And the way that they hid it was they rotated the bezel so that it was over a part of the dial that was a different color, and it actually kind of washed it out where you couldn't see it except for in certain light. So I didn't even realize it was on there when I first got it until I hit it in the wrong light, and all of a sudden I realized there was a massive gash in it. And I took the watch to my local Breitling dealer, and they wanted $500 to fix the scratch. So that was a bad shock. And there was also undisclosed damage to the bracelet. There was actually pieces of the bracelet that were missing. And because of that, again, it was like another $300 or $400 repair that they wanted to fix the bracelet. And the way they staged the photos of this particular watch, the way they shot it, of course the missing pieces of the bracelet were totally hidden. They were covered up by the clasp, and they did stage the watch in such a way that there was no way to see that the damage was there. And that's the thing with photographs. You can photograph things in a certain light, and you can hide damage very, very easily. And that's exactly what they did. And of course, they claimed ignorance. They said they had no idea it was like that, and I forced them to take the watch back. Because it was, to me, there was no reason they should have known it was there. And for what I paid for it, I could have repaired it and actually still made a profit on the watch. However, the fact that they had my money just really upset me. The other big thing, and this is something I think you guys really, really, really need to be careful of, and it's something that we saw a lot of during the economic recession that I know we're technically still coming out of. And I say technically because a lot of people claim that we're out of it. I don't know where you guys are in the world, but I know in the US it's still evident to me that there's still a recession going on. And part of that recession was, we had a lot of this inventory in these high-end jewelers, and they had ridiculous list prices on their watches, and all of a sudden the market dried up. And so you had a lot of these watch dealers that had, $10,000 watches that they didn't have an audience to sell them to. Something going on very similar right now with, the buying habits of the Chinese changing and all that too. But what happens is when you have these dealers that have all this expensive inventory and they can't sell it for what they need to sell it for, and the people that are, or the companies that they work with at their dealership that are, they're selling inventory for, the brands that they work with, have the discount thresholds where they can't sell the watch below a certain price. The dealers are kind of stuck, and they need to get rid of their inventory because the manufacturers in some cases won't buy it back, and they also won't let their dealers sell it below a certain price count. So what a lot of these dealers have done is they sell them on the gray markets and given them to gray market dealers to sell them they basically sell it to a gray market at their cost or a little bit more than the gray market can discount it and sell it for whatever price they want. Now, the problem with that is that if one of these big companies, you know, Breitling, Rolex, whoever, finds out that they're doing this, they can take away their franchisee or their dealership license. So what a lot of these dealerships have done is they've erased the serial numbers from watches. And by doing so, the manufacturers can't trace back where this inventory from the gray market's coming from. So they can't go after their dealerships in theory and, you know, penalize them or take away their franchise for selling watches below the pricing limits. The problem with that, and the problem with the Breitling I actually bought this week and I've already returned, is that a lot of these watches, again, have had their serial numbers removed, which is something that's extremely serious. Now, I bought a Breitling this week, and as you guys know, if you know Breitling, a lot of their watches are highly, highly polished. And photography, obviously, is not one of my strong suits, but any of you guys know that have tried to film something that's very shiny, you're never going to get the whole part in focus. So when you're looking at photos on Breitlings online, especially the way Breitling does their serial numbers on their case backs, it's very easy for the serial number not to show up in the pictures. It could be there, it could be totally legible, but it's just on the case back being so shiny, it's typical for it to be unlegible on the case back. And so when I purchased this particular watch, again, from a respected gray market dealer, let me let the wind pass a bit here. Bought it from a respected gray market dealer, and the case back being so shiny, I didn't see the serial number. I could, but you know, the case back was so polished and it looked like mint, and where it would have been, it looked like I could see a faint bit of it. So I just assumed that it was just out because you couldn't see it in the lighting. And rather than check, which I should have done, I bought the watch. And lo and behold, when the watch showed up, the serial number was missing from the case back. Now, there's three reasons that a serial number would be missing from a case back. One is that it's stolen, and somebody has intentionally erased it from the case back to hide the fact that it's stolen so that you can't track it to the original owner. Two is that some idiot polished the case back and polished it off, which is possible. However, in this situation, looking at the case back, everything else on the case back had like zero polish on it. So it was clear to me this one area of the case back had super polishing done to it, and somebody had intentionally removed it. And you ask yourself, if it wasn't stolen, why would they do that? And again, I go back to the gray market. The watch that I bought, based on the bracelet that was on it, was built in 2008, again, beginning of the recession. I can only imagine that, you know, this watch that I bought from New York was something that was probably at a high market dealership. They couldn't sell it, so they erased the serial number for it and sold it on to a gray market dealer, and it's kind of lived in the system as such without a serial number. So you ask yourself, why does it matter if you don't have a serial number on the watch? And there's actually a bunch of really big reasons why it should matter. One is that theoretically, like I mentioned, you can't prove that it's not stolen. The other big problem is there's actually a lot of laws around it. First and foremost, though, if you wanted to send that watch, say, for Breitling, Breitling won't touch it. Breitling will not take a watch that doesn't have a serial number on it. In fact, I think legally they're actually allowed to confiscate it. I don't know for sure. You guys in the comments can probably let me know if that's true or not. But I have heard of watch companies, watch manufacturers confiscating watches that they get without serial numbers on it. Just as they'll confiscate watches that have aftermarket parts on them, like Rolex used to be notorious for that. Something else to be careful of, by the way, when you buy watches is be careful that the watches you buy have all original parts on it, because if you send them in for service, they can confiscate them. That should be a topic for another story. But so apart from the fact that Breitling, I know, would never service the watch without a serial number, because, and from their perspective, I get it, they have no way to prove the provenance of the watch or to prove that you own it. And why would they service a watch that could potentially be stolen? I get that perspective. The other problem is where I live in the United States, in the state that I live, and there's quite a few states in the United States I know that are like this. It's actually illegal for me technically to have that watch by law. Now, whether or not that's an enforceable law, you know, I don't know. But it's illegal in the state that I live in to not only remove the serial number from the case back consciously, it's also legal for me to sell that watch on. And as you guys know, I tend to go through watches quite a bit, and you know, the watch was something I planned on keeping for a long time, but the fact that I could never sell it and I could never get it serviced by Breitling, to me was enough that I just did not want to get it. And so the seller and I argued, they took it back, and they forgive me, I live next door to a private airport, and this is one of the problems you have when you try to film videos outside. So this is probably the last time I do this for a while. That was, I can't tell. It might have been I think that was a Beechcraft. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. So it was a watch that I knew that I was stuck with, that in theory I could never sell it. I was theoretically not legally allowed to have it. Again, though, whether or not they'll enforce that, who knows. And beyond that, you know, again, there's the constant issue of I could never get it serviced. So I sent it back. I got into an argument with, again, this highly respected highly respected gray market dealer, and they claimed ignorance. They said maybe they accidentally polished it off. It's total crap. If they sell as many of these Breitlings as they claim to, there's zero reason why they should have known it wasn't there. And the reason I'm telling you this is you guys have to be extremely careful, because I know these watches inside and out. I knew where the serial number should have been. If you bought this watch and you weren't an expert on Breitling, you would have never known there was a serial number there. They did such a freaking incredible job of polishing it off that it never looked like there was ever one on the Caseback. And it's one of those things I could see, and probably why they were stunned that I even caught it, is most people had no idea that it was missing. And it wouldn't be until 5 or 10 years later after you bought the watch, and you know, here comes the wind again, you went to sell it on, or you went to get it serviced by Breitling, that you'd have a hell of a headache on your hands and it'd be too late to fight it off. And so be very, very careful. Whenever you buy a watch, make sure you ask the seller if the serial number is intact. Make sure that they can at least show you part of it to prove that it's there. They shouldn't be showing all of it to you, because counterfeiters could get a hold of the serial numbers, and that's a whole other problem. But make sure the serial numbers are intact, and also be aware whenever you're buying a used watch that there's probably going to be damage on it that you're not expecting, and take that into consideration when you're buying it. All that said, as I mentioned, there's going to be a little bit of a Rolex unboxing on this video. It's not the greatest, because I was so excited that I didn't really take any time to set the camera up. I just got super excited and started digging through the box. So please forgive the quality of the unboxing, and let's go check that out. All right, guys, let's go ahead and check this out. So I just took the packing slip out of it because I don't want you guys seeing my address. But beyond that, let's go ahead and check it out. Yes, my cutting technique here is really crappy. This is not the way to open a box correctly. Oops. That's nice. That's that. Somewhere in here is a Rolex. Wow, yeah, they did a nice job wrapping this sucker. Come on, focus. Do your job. Ah, yes. Rolex Oyster. I don't know if I've ever seen this version of the box before. Very nice. Personal note, I'll read that later. There's the Rolex box. Come on, focus. Oh wow. see what we got. Very nice. Placido Domingo. Cool stuff. It's all in Japanese. That's kind of cool. Very nice. To be read later. Nice little wallet. What does that say? 93, 94. Fancy stuff. Actually put that back in here. I don't lose it. Original sales papers. I don't want to read that on camera since it's going to show my serial. And original Rolex sales papers as well, which is going to have my serial number on it, so we'll skip that. Very cool. But for the part that's most important, here's your old-fashioned style Rolex box. There she be. See if we can get her running. And there she goes. There you go, guys. There's the Rolex Explorer 2 polar dial. I'll have a full review of this thing coming up on the channel at some point. Here's the old-fashioned Rolex clasp. There we go. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the unboxing. A couple really quick things before I leave you today. Some reviews that are coming up. I'm so sorry about the wind. Go away. As I was saying, I'm very sorry about the wind. There's going to be a review of a Nomos coming up on the channel soon. A Nomos Orion, so stay tuned for that. Now you guys have been asking me, and I get a lot of messages, and I'm sorry, I'm not answering messages hardly anymore, and I apologize, I honestly have zero time to respond to them. But as I've mentioned in the past, just because I can't reply to your messages, I'm going to try to help you guys on those live sessions, and a couple of you guys that have asked me when the next one's going to be. I'm happy to tell you the next live session is going to be November the 5th, that's next Saturday. It's going to be early afternoon. Figure probably around 3 or 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time US is probably when you're going to be able to see that. So hoping to get CG from CG Watch Channel on here as well, and maybe some of my other friends on here, maybe Kurt from Minute Watch, if you're watching, join me. Some of my other buddies in the watch community, and then of course I'll try to get James from It's Kibble Talks Watches as well, who's another really good friend of mine. These are all people that I have a lot of respect for and have a lot of great value, and frankly I think they should have more subscribers than I do, so I really like to help them out, get them out there so you guys know about them if you're not already subscribed, and let's just talk about watches. And again, the messages that I haven't been replying to, the comments I may have missed, that's your chance to kind of pipe in, and we can all try to answer your questions together, so thank you so much for that. This wind's driving me nuts. But as always, guys, thank you so much. Links to social media are below. And, you know, I really hope you found this helpful. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, you know where the thumbs down button is, go for it. Just leave me a comment as to why. And if you haven't already, subscribe, and we'll catch each other on the next video. Thank you guys so much.